We can't stop. We won't stop talking about a trade for all-pro pass rusher Trey Hendrickson, potentially for the Arizona Cardinals, because Johnny Venerable will be the exclamation point to a huge Cardinals offseason.
Yeah, he's asking for a new deal, and Cincinnati not playing ball. Plus, what the hell happened with Drew Petzing and Marvin Harrison Jr., a new report that's damning that you don't want to miss it. It's coming up. It's PHNX Cardinals. Hey, welcome in. Live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier #1 Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Give us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I'm Johnny Venerable. He is Bo Brack. No Damon Dog today. Our guy Ayrton behind the mic, pushing the buttons, making us look great on our schedule release preview show. Bo and I will go on the record later in the show with our estimation of how the league will take care of the precious Redbirds. We've got a marquee show tomorrow, but let's not forget about this loaded program today, Bo.
No, we've got some business to take care of. What's going on, everybody out there in the chat? G-Funk, how about Gunt? AZBro95, Shaft, Pedro, how about Tim, Didi, Big Red 6, Red C. We got Alberto, Ken Weber, Big Bird 92, Chase, CBK, Gabriel. We got Daniel Barry, how about Jacob, Kyler World, Yellow Steel, HD LLC. There's a free plug for you. How about Jonathan W., 5th in Maine? Love to see everybody here. I apologize if I can't get to all 150 plus of you. Just take too long. But we appreciate each and every one of you, even the silent types that don't like to get on their keyboards and chat, but we love it. We love to converse with this incredible community here, and of course, in the exclusive member diehard Discord, where we're just talking about this team 24/7. It's unreal.
We have the best community because this is a trust tree. It's a circle of trust, if you will. It's built on trust and communication, something that does not exist in Cincinnati, apparently. The word of the day is distrust on this show. Distrust maybe with Trey Hendrickson, certainly in the Bengals brass. Is there distrust with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Drew Petzing? We're going to talk about a damning article. That's later in the show, but we're going to kick things off. So we kind of reached a point with Trey Hendrickson where we thought, and we touched on it yesterday, it's like, well, he's showing up to everything. He's a good soldier. The Bengals are just going to do him dirty. He's going to play out his deal. They're going to see what happens. Then we woke up to the news from multiple outlets that Trey Hendrickson is officially holding out.
Yeah.
He, on the record, is not going to play for the Bengals this season without a new contract. Couple that with a damning report from the man himself who held court today in Cincinnati, by the way. I wish we could show you the footage. Basically said that he got a disingenuous text message from head coach Zach Taylor, basically condemning him if he dare threaten to sit out mandatory minicamp or any portion of the offseason, and he will be subject to lengthy and weighted fines. So do we have the graphic here? The breakdown of the distrust. This is from Mike Petragila, who covers the Cincinnati Bengals. Listen to this, Bo.
Yeah.
Hendrickson vented for 23 minutes. Doesn't plan to play on his 1-year, $21 million deal. Doesn't want to kick the can down the road. Received a text message from Zach Taylor threatening him with fines if he didn't show up. The text angered Hendrickson and triggered a statement on Monday. Says he still has a good relationship with Taylor. Sure, Jan. Reiterated that there's been no communication since the draft. Happy, of course. Jamar Chase, Higgins got their deals, blah, blah, blah. Would love to stay here if possible. There's so much information to dive into, but he opened up his media. Somebody asked him, like, do you want to be a Bengal? And he's like, I don't even, like, couldn't even answer it.
Maybe, and he also had this statement about shark attack. Did you hear that? Where he's a Floridian. So there's unprovoked shark attacks and provoked shark attacks. The comments are being made. This is not something where I'm just twiddling my thumbs thinking, oh, how can I get the next one up? They watch me every day. They see how hard I work. They see how I carry myself as a human being. They know me. He's talking about the comments that were made throughout this offseason from Katie Blackburn and other members of the organization. I mean, let's start here. Zach Taylor is a bumbling buffoon.
He is.
Who has just fallen into success by hitching himself to Joe Burrow. That is the only way he's in this position. He did benefit, I think, from some decent coordinators, guys who aren't good head coaches, but like good coordinators. And Lou Amaruno, known around these parts as Lou Amardillo. And then, of course, Callahan, Big Tom Callahan's son, who was out there not selling motor parts, but calling a decent offense for Joe Burrow and crew.
That caught me off guard. I'm sorry. Hey, Tommy boy.
But I mean, Zach Taylor just touching base with Trey Hendrickson couldn't show any more.
Hey, Trey Hendrickson, you big piece of. Sorry to interrupt you while you're volunteering at the hospital. If you don't show up for minicamp.
Like there's just so many. There's just some people who they don't know how to tread lightly. They don't know how to just they have zero touch of anything. It's like an Angel Reese layup. It's just thrown like with a high velocity at the rim.
Yeah.
There's just not, and that's Zach Taylor. He's like, oh, I'm gonna check in with old Trey. Like I gotta do something, but I'm gonna kind of walk on some eggshells. No. Trey Hendrickson takes as a direct threat, like, hey, if you don't show up to mandatory, you're gonna get fined. It's like, guys, I've been playing as much ball as I possibly can throughout this entire process after racking up 35 sacks over the last 2 seasons, and you guys continue to pay everybody but me. Like, where's the good faith in any of this? Like, every corner he turns, he's getting smacked in the face.
It's like my boomer parents trying to type on a keyboard. Why isn't this working, Johnny? Clicking it. That's Zach Taylor on his phone texting Trey Hendrickson. If you're Trey Hendrickson, I think you've handled this okay. I think your agent didn't do you any favors, and maybe he told his agent, like, I'm confident we can get this done. The hell you can. This ain't getting done. It's cute that everybody in Cincinnati, especially their media, is waking up to what we've been discussing since the start of free agency, where the Bengals in no world were going to pay Jamar Chase and T. Higgins generational money, especially Jamar Chase, and then turn around and pay a 30-plus-year-old pass rusher, as good as he is, big-time money. Bengals, we'll kick that can down the road. Nobody thinks we're going to be good defensively anyway. What's he going to do? It's a loaded defensive end draft. Well, he's finally drawn a line in the sand where he's not playing. He's not playing for them. And when it gets personal, like, say what you want about like the Reddick situation last year, people like the Jets brass were like, bro, we don't even know you yet. Can you just come and play for us? And like, then we'll vibe. We'll give you a new deal. Usually that's how it goes. It's like, come and we'll figure this out. Buda Baker held out for 1 day. And then he's like, I'll play for JG and it'll all work out. And then he got a new deal. Granted, about a year later.
Yeah.
The Bengals are like, you got Mike Brown's daughter, executive VP, basically saying like he should be happy with what we offered him.
Yeah.
They have thrown so much mud at Trey Hendrickson. If I'm Trey Hendrickson, I'm going double bird, scorched earth. I'm ripping this franchise and I'm forcing my way out. And I do think, like you touched on yesterday, at what point is the damage done for the Bengals who are just like, we'll just take whatever we can get? Like, I feel like after those comments today, 2nd round pick, nobody's offering that. What kind of leverage do you have? This player's not going to play for you and you're not going to pay him. 3rd round pick, 2 fourths, a 3rd and a 4th. What kind of deal could you have? Like, let me put you on the spot right now. Seeing what we've seen so far, George Pickens was dealt after the draft. Like, what do you feel like the percentage is for the Bengals who already shopped him, said they'd shop him, for trading Trey Hendrickson? Has it gone up since yesterday for you?
I mean, I think that the league, I mean, to go back to another like shark analogy, like blood's in the water, and the league's just going to sit there and say, look, we'll feed you like a little, our finest chum. We'll give you our best chum. Like we're going to give you like what you were asking for a first round pick. Like that's what Mike Garafolo told us.
Right.
Even though like nobody in the league like flinched at that. They're like, nah, like, okay, you see if that market materializes for you. Second round pick probably was their best bet, I'm sure, at some point this offseason. And now I think they're venturing into George Pickens territory where it would be late day 2 and some change. I just, and that would be a pretty decent deal. If they got the George Pickens deal, they probably, people would say, that's what you can get. Good luck with Shamar Stewart and his 4.5 sacks over 3 seasons that you're bringing to the NFL level. That's another pass rusher that you have to figure out a holdout for, by the way. It's pretty absurd. I mean, I'm looking at this in like the comments made by Blackburn are just such a slap in the face when you think about it relative to the league. Like, of course, you can sit there and say, well, how much money do you need? But there is a part of this where the Bengals are overlooking and discounting the respect that I think Trey Hendrickson has deserved, it has earned, certainly, in his production and just how he conducts himself on and off the field. And I'm looking at this right now. You've got Andrew Van Ginkel, Montez Sweat, TJ Watt, Brian Burns, Josh Hines-Allen, Nick Bosa, Max Crosby, Danielle Hunter, and then, of course, $40 million. You've got Myles Garrett, all making more money than the NFL sack leader. Like, I think that you have to show him at least a little bit of respect monetarily as far as the money goes.
I also think if you're the Bengals, it behooves you to make a decision on this ASAP. Because it's not a market that we want any part of, but it's a market right now with available edge rushers. Like, go out, sign Zadarius Smith or Judon or Clowney or Dennis Gardeck or DeMarcus Walker, Jihad Ward. Go and sign. You're going to have to go and sign one of those players if you deal him, right? You probably should sign one of those players anyway, given the state of your pass rush. So how does this all figure with the Arizona Cardinals? Before Bo and I go through the pros and cons, this podcast reported before free agency that back on March 7th that the Cardinals had inquired on Bengals defensive end Trey Hendrickson. So I think he'd be okay if I share this. So Justin M., who does great work for the Draft Network, and has consistently been pumping out workouts and top 30 visits, DM'd me and told me, I fully expect them to call again. And then he put it in his article today at the Draft Network. Cardinals, one of 3 teams, including the Commanders and the Bears, that should call on Trey Hendrickson. And again, I continue to hold that position. I think it would give you a trump card where you would announce like, hey, we're not only coming for a playoff spot, we want to dominate the NFC West and we want to put the NFC on notice. And, you and I probably have a different mindset. I would still feel comfortable giving up a premium day 2 pick. But again, if you were interested and you could get him for a 3rd plus, that would be one of the biggest heists of the offseason. No doubt about it.
Yeah. I mean, and you could have played it perfectly where you really kind of, you're going to get him for 60 cents on the dollar. Yeah. I mean, as far as what Trey Hendrickson, what you thought he was going to command. And I understand, like, and we'll go through it. We are going to go through the pros and cons of it, but it makes a significant statement to not only your division, but to the entire NFC. Like this, not only are we going to go from a team just like knocking on the door trying to get into the postseason, but we're going to kick it in with our revamped defense. Like we're going to bring at you Josh Sweat and his $76.4 million deal. We're going to bring the NFL sack leader along with us, 17.5 sacks, Trey Hendrickson. We'll give him a nice little deal. And then also you've got that revamped interior defensive line that features Walter Nolan III, Darius Robinson, Calais Campbell, Dalvin Tomlinson. We're just going to wreck some things.
Yeah.
We're here to mess some things up, right? That's what they're coming in, and that's what they're going to establish themselves. And it's unfortunate that it's going to come before like the schedule is. I'm sure they're putting the finishing touches on it right now because the Cardinals would take off like a rocket ship as far as just intrigue, as far as what they can do.
Let's get to the pros and cons list, Bo, and if you would walk our audience through this, something you put together before the show. And again, like, I think you and I are both pro trading for this player, but the Cardinals are in a very different spot than they were on March 7th when they didn't have Sweaty J and Calais and Dalvin Tomlinson and Walter Nolan and Jordan Birch, plus Baron Browning. So they've subsequently added about 6 defensive linemen.
Yeah.
But, I mean, every team in the NFL could use Trey Hendrickson.
Right. Correct. And you look at it, and we'll start with the first pro, and it's an instant impact. I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to find somebody more consistently productive, especially when he was the guy probably facing double teams. There was nobody else in that Bengals defense that you had to truly game plan for, and you still got, 17 games this season, 17 games the previous season where he's racking up, over a sack a game, 17 and a half the last 2 seasons. He's reached double-digit sacks 4 times in his 8-year career. So half the time you can expect double-digit sack production when he's healthy. So you see that he's the instant impact. You can get that with the second one here on our pros list. Extremely productive. We'll get into the cons here. I think, expensive. Our guy Jalen Blair pointing that out. I mean, you're probably going to have to pay him about $30 million to get him close to where I think he wants to be. Where I ran down that list as far as the top earners at his position coming off the edge, it would cost you the draft capital, and it would also cost you what he was going to satisfy him as far as an extension goes. And they did spend this offseason. So do you get a little bit house poor with your salary cap cash if you do make this deal and ink him to an extension?
They are going to shed a ton of salary between now and next offseason. I think Sean Murphy-Bunting, Justin Jones, and Bilal Nichols, 2 of the 3 at minimum, won't be on the team. Those cap savings kick in next offseason. Jalen Thompson's in a contract year. Could always restructure Kyler Murray's deal, right? There are a lot of benefits that come with the 2026 cap. But yeah, you're right. I think the biggest kind of sticker shock would be paying he and Josh Sweat upwards of $60+ million. But that would become your identity. Your team, after being poverty, respectfully, on the defensive line the last 2 years, your team identity is not big plays to Marv and Trey and not a run game, right? Not a talented secondary. It would be, we boast what we feel like is the best defensive line in the NFL, and it would be a miraculous turn of events. So do I think they'll reach out again? I think that if no one's going to talk to the Bengals unless the Bengals show that they're serious about moving him, unless they all have a come to football Jesus moment with Mike Brown and the cheap ass owner and everybody involved. And they say to themselves, like, this is over. We're not going to do this anymore. I don't want to deal with this BS. We've shown players, and this is me speaking as them. I don't think Trey's issue is BS, but they've paid Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And in their narrow mind, they probably think, well, that should show everybody else we take care of our own. But Trey, you're on your second deal or whatever it is, and you're over 30. We don't want to set that precedent. I don't think there's any world in which they pay him the kind of money he wants. So it's either going to come down to the Bengals trading him or Trey inevitably, faltering and just coming out and playing. But again, like, when you're over 30, he's got 1 payday left.
Yeah.
And he's got 2 years left on his deal. So it's now, this is the time for him. His leverage will never be higher than now.
Yeah.
35 sacks in 2 years.
No, I mean, and this is why it's extremely important for him to cash in. I mean, to think like, hey, you had 17 and a half sacks in back-to-back seasons. What's the likelihood statistically that he's going to be able to check in for an unprecedented 3rd straight season or best that? It'd be pretty crazy. I mean, I think he'd have a better opportunity doing it here with that rotation. But let's keep going here with the pros and the cons, if you don't mind, Ayrton. Pop that back up on the screen. And then we get to it, and I think that's where I think the comments today are even more damning on the organization when you just see from everybody you talk to about Trey Hendrickson. He's a good player, and he's a good teammate. He's a good person. Like, even when he was going through the early stages of this, back and forth, with this organization. He's out there and he's making appearances at, Cincinnati hospitals, and he's just proving that he's every bit of what, people say he is. And then, like, you look at kind of last two here, the age, we've mentioned that, he's 30 now. He'll be 31 in December. So it's not too old, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Myles Garrett's 30. He just got $40 million. He's the highest paid player at the position, but people are a little bit more skeptical about Trey Hendrickson and how long his longevity, how long the production will keep up. But, the one I think that kind of holds true to where I'll say you and I think that they should pull off this deal. This is where I think that the Cardinals would be hesitant to. It would block the development of some key players that they've brought in the organization, that they've kept in the organization, that they want to see develop and blossom here.
Yeah, I feel like you look at what Gannon and company did in Philly, and there were multiple pass rushers on that team, especially at edge rusher. That team where Gannon had 70 sacks. Jordan Burch, you have an argument. You draft a player in the top 100 like Jordan Burch, who has not played a down of NFL football. You are projecting him to be a starter. This is where I think I differ from a lot of people. Outside of that, I have major question marks with every other player in that unit. Zaven Collins cannot rush the passer consistently. That was a depth signing. Same with Baron Browning. Baron Browning got Dennis Gardeck light money, right? That's a depth signing. He'll probably start for this team unless they make a deal for Hendrickson, but I don't feel comfortable with that. But if he's your worst pass rusher on your front four, then you can play with that. But remember, he was dealt for pennies on the dollar from Denver. Denver said, we're good. We're in a playoff race. We're trying to make the postseason. We don't want him. And then you look at, Xavier Thomas, a 5th rounder, and then the name that consistently gets brought up, B.J. Ojulari off of, a torn ACL. No. That's not like you don't have prime Chandler Jones waiting in the wings. You don't have, prime Hassan Reddick on his rookie deal. You've got guys with, outside of Jordan Burch, messy resumes, ton of question marks. Not bad people, but there's just, who are you developing in that group outside of B.J. Ojulari? You're not, I don't know if you're developing Zaven Collins. I think he's a role player. I think Baron Browning's a role player, right? I think if you want to have if they see enough from Jordan Burch this summer in workouts, in preparation for the season, and they're like, man, he is going to be starting over Baron Browning by Thanksgiving, mark my word, because he played a lot of college football, then I trust their judgment on that. Then they shouldn't do this deal. But if they're like, if they say to themselves, an acquisition of Trey Hendrickson, we can afford it from a cap standpoint, which they can, and it's not going to break the bank with our 2026 draft picks, if it's a third and some change or whatever, and it will make us the unequivocal favorite in this division, which, by the way, Bo, boasts immobile Sam Darnold, immobile Brock Purdy, and immobile Matthew Stafford. Yeah. Like, you would eat those teams and those tackles for breakfast with Sweat, Dalvin, Walter Nolan, Calais Campbell, Trey Hendrickson. I mean, it would be a who's who of pass rushers that this team really has never had before.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, Burch profiles so similarly to Trey Hendrickson. I mean, do you get kind of lost? And he was drafted higher than Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson was just on the outside of the top 100 when he was drafted by the Saints. Jordan Burch is 78th overall, very similar size, two massive humans. Hendrickson's 6'4". Jordan Burch is a guy that is 6'4", 279, depending on what day you talk to him. Hendrickson's now easily 270. He was a little bit lighter than that coming out of college, out of FAU. But there is some strange kind of parallels there between the two players. Like, do you just feel like, hey, like, we have Trey Hendrickson at home now. We have Jordan Burch, who we really want to see him develop, and we want to see this thing through B.J. Ojulari. Like, does that cause Monty Ossenfort to hesitate from picking up the phone again?
I think if this is 2023, this doesn't fit their timeline. Even last year, clearly they were like, we're good. We don't need to sign the kid that went to Houston or Van Ginkel or whomever. Yeah. They were too laid back. They were not aggressive enough. I mean, after what you've seen from Monty Austin for this offseason, I don't know if anybody, we got 405 people watching here. I don't think anybody can confidently say like they're done.
Right.
They watched that tape like we did every single Sunday night, Monday morning of those front four players never getting home for them ever. Right. And even with the re-signing of Baron Browning and the drafting of Jordan Birch, like those are lottery tickets. You got a guy who's at 35 sacks in 2 years. You're telling me right now, if you gave up a third for this guy and he came in here with Josh Sweat and they were dominant for 2 years and you won the first division title in 10 years for this franchise, that will set, I said this yesterday, that will set you and your family up for 10 plus years. Steve Keim was around for 10 years.
Yeah.
And he made the playoffs 4 times and there's 3 times out of 10 years he made the postseason. If I'm Monty Osford, it's like, yeah, I'm all for draft and developing, but to your original point, 60 cents on the dollar. This is not first rounders for Hollywood Brown screw around time. This is you're taking advantage of another team's dysfunction, and you're also benefiting from the cap space that you saved, that you were frugal with. So it bears watching, and we're going to continue to cover it. It just keeps coming up in the news cycle. Also in the news cycle, there was an article that dropped today. Benjamin Solak, friend of the program, was on with us at the Super Bowl, talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. and what potentially held him back last year. And it's going down the path I think we all know. It's PHNX Cardinals. But first, we're talking Desert Financial Credit Union, the official credit union of the Arizona Cardinals for more than 84 years. They've been the largest, most trusted local credit union, dedicated and creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community, providing financial solutions that make lives better. If you're an Arizona sports fan, there's no better place to do your banking than Desert Financial Credit Union. They've got savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and more. Plus, rep the Red Sea with the Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card. I got the new player card after I fell for a phishing scam and they saved my butt, the Desert Financial Credit Union. Show your team spirit for free. Open up a free checking account online. Get an Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card at thedesertfinancial.com/CardinalsBow to get started.
This is so cool. We did our, of course, draft party over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, hung out there at Wild Horse Pass, but it just doesn't stop there. How about at their Lone Butte Casino location? They've got Sun Devils baseball legend Jeff Larish. This is a guy who hit 3 home runs in a College World Series game. He is a Sun Devil legend, no doubt about it. Wednesday, May 7th from 5 to 6 at the Taste Kitchen. First 70 guests will receive a free Jeff Larish bobblehead. Where my bobblehead stands out there that just continue to build those collections. We'll get this unique one, Jeff Larish. Get your photo and meet the true ASU icon. We'll see you there. And also check out every thrilling moment of so many different sporting events like the NBA playoffs or the PGA Championship, Indy 500's coming up at the BetMGM Sportsbook at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Massive screens everywhere you turn, delicious food and drinks, and all the action. Checking them out right now. How about UFC 315? Sorry, that's what you call it. I don't know why I was just naming each number by itself. Check it out. You do you, Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playGila.com for more details.
Smash the like button. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Take advantage of 30% off All-City Network sale. Again, we mentioned it yesterday. Pick up that Greg Dortch tee, $8. Get this hat, 30% off.
Yeah.
This shirt's sold out, but there's a ton of good stuff available for sale right now. Check it out because once it's gone, it's gone. We're restocking and reloading. Cardinals are hoping Bo to reload in Marvin Harrison Jr.'s sophomore season.
Yeah.
And we're all feeling good. It's the offseason. We're feeling the vibes. Marv's put on muscle. He looks fantastic. You've seen him out there casually during OTAs. But there's a wrench in the form of a Benjamin Solak article for ESPN right now. Benjamin broke down all the rookie receivers. You spend 5 minutes with Benjamin Solak, you know he knows ball.
Yeah.
He analyzes it with Mina Kimes on her podcast. He only watches tape, and he broke down Marvin's rookie year. And a lot of people have been asking, was it Kyler? Was it Marv not feeling ready to play? How come Ladd McConkey and Brian Thomas Jr. with no quarterback and Malik Neighbors all shined, and Marv had a relatively subpar year for his standards.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at Marvin Harrison Jr. per the eyes of Benjamin Solak. Do we have the graphic here? All right, here we go. So, according to Solak, Bo, Marvin Harrison Jr. led the league in contested targets as a rookie with 40. Okay. Harrison ran, this is per Solak, exactly 7 routes after going in motion all season. Only 8 receivers had fewer, and most of them, quote, Bo, were part-time players. Solak goes on to say, Arizona's role for Harrison was fairly predictable to start the season, and Drew Petzing was simply not creative enough with his usage of Marvin. He was, quote, asked to play the game on hard mode as a rookie, winning all of his catches through contact. Lastly, I was wholly unimpressed by the Cardinals' plan for Harrison last season and remain accordingly optimistic on his future as a good NFL wide receiver.
Yeah, some pretty damning statistics there. I mean, especially the motion, just very rarely used off, wide receivers, and you've got your primary X receiver who's seeing, just about his same motion, pre-snap motion opportunities throughout that. And then also, like what Mina Kimes was consistently saying during her tenure here with PHNX Cardinals throughout last season was there's just not high percentage opportunities for Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't think this is any more damning. It's just bringing up all the stuff that we kind of went through last season, the trials, the tribulations of Marv's first season, and them not kind of retrofitting it to his unique high skill set. And it was unfortunate because I think, to pull from Mina, they kept the restrictor plate on this thing the entire way through. Like there was a couple where I think Marvin Harrison Jr.'s sheer talent broke through it, and him and Kyler Murray, especially in the Miami game, were able to get on the same page. But as far as Drew Petzing and how the offense was set up, it wasn't one that was going to, be conducive to success, consistent success for Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, does this harden him? Does this make him a better player in the end? That's what I'm hoping. But at the same time, I'm also hoping that Drew Petzing, like the players we ask to learn from their mistakes and develop from this, you hope that Drew Petzing is going to develop as a play caller from what these damning statistics kind of bring up with their, topic acquisition last offseason, the 4th overall pick.
I think people will see this article and feel vindicated. I think a lot of us watched that last year, and there'd be cuts of Marvin being open and maybe Kyler not seeing him or Marv not catching everything. And there was the game against the Chargers, right, where people were making the notion he was disengaged. Here's what I know is that I don't believe Drew Petzing in 2 years as the offensive coordinator for this team has put together a receiver-friendly offense. I think, as Benjamin points out, he has made it difficult at times for wide receivers. It's like the chicken and the egg thing. You and I had this conversation last week. It's like, well, he didn't produce many explosives before Marvin because who did he have to work with? He didn't have Kyler. Michael was in his rookie year, and you got a mulligan that year because the run game was so good, and you've developed Trey McBride. Your route concepts offensively stink. They held this team back last year. They were almost dead last in plays over 40 yards through the air. They were horrendous. And we all saw it. It was always difficult. It was dink and dunk underneath, run game, boot, play action. Kyler Murray takes off. I mean, when you take a tight end, a third tight end, a blocking tight end in the top 100 last year, and then you can't utilize properly the best wide receiver on paper to come out in 20 years, like that's a problem. And it speaks to your foundation, your philosophy. So I have major concerns that they can turn this around with Petzing now in the fold. Like, say what you want about Brian Daboll. Guy could scheme open and get Malik Neighbors the football. And then Malik Neighbors gets confidence. And then he's able to run through tackles and have the big play yak ability. Like the Cardinals last year stripped Marvin Harrison Jr. of his confidence. I will never forget when you stood at his locker last year and he was just completely befuddled. Like, I don't know what to say. And now you see these comments from Benjamin Solak. It's like Marv's never going to be critical publicly, but like they put the clamps down on this kid last year and really, I don't want to say sabotaged his rookie season, but man, they blew it last year. Yeah. Collectively, as a offensive coaching staff, they blew this with Marv last year.
Yeah, and you hope that it's the only cautionary tale of his career, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, and that has to be the mission here in 2025. Is it seems like all parties, at least the ones that we've kind of been clued in on through our conversations with Kyler Murray, Jonathan Gannon, his teammates, that Marvin Harrison Jr. is doing everything within his power to make sure he doesn't. And this was when we talked to Kyler. Kyler said he made sure to note, like, Marvin did not have the season he wanted to have. He was just as frustrated, if not more, than anybody else. And then you talk about that moment. I asked him, I said, how's this, is the season going how you expected? And he's like, no. I'm paraphrasing there, but that was essentially his answer. And then he had the Miami game, but like those were just kind of too few and far between. Like Marvin Harrison Jr., from all reports, hasn't left the facility. You can see him. He's visibly bulked up. He's throwing down thunderous dunks. He looks like an absolute animal out there at the Mack Wilson charity game. Kyler Murray's saying, like, he's opening up. He's talking more than he was ever. Like, he's communicating. He's coming out of his shell. Like, everybody's doing this. Kyler Murray's talking about how he wants to get him set up for success. Then there's a third party here that's mentioned in this article, and it's been damning for Petzing. It's like Petzing has to play his role in this as far as helping Marvin Harrison Jr. not experience another on his standards letdown in his second season. And it's going to come down to Drew doing some things that get him out of his comfort zone, where it's like, oh, I've got this big time receiver. It's going to draw a lot of attention. It's like, no, like, don't shy away from him in that situation. Find ways to scheme him open. Don't have him just be stand in with the route he's going to run. Put him in motion. Set him up for success. Get him some underneath throws. Continue to lean on the crossing routes that he had so much success with.
Led the league.
Yeah, he led the league. So it's just, you hope that all the data, all the game film, everything that's gone through here, that Drew Petzing's going to respond to it and have an answer for it.
Here's the difference is between now and last year. When that first Buffalo game, when Marv was a non-factor, caught us all by surprise, right? This is going to be the talking point of training camp and the opening month of the season. The defense it could, theoretically. It will not let us down. This defense is on paper too deep, too well coached. The defense will perform, right? I don't care who they face. They held the Detroit Lions to 20 points. They shut out Jared Goff with nobody, with me playing, off-ball linebacker last year.
Yeah, really good.
Appreciate it. Happy to help. Like, if the offense can't perform through the air, save me with, I know Kyler Murray's not everybody's cup of tea and he's got to play better. Kyler Murray had 1,400-yard seasons with DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah. Kyler Murray throws a beautiful deep ball. Like, Drew, figure that out, man. Like, we can't be sitting here with Trey and Michael and Marvin and K1 and a plus offensive line, and it looks this hard. That was the common denominator. Why does it look so hard for the Cardinals to complete big plays downfield? We're other teams are scheming up players wide open, right? Yeah. The Cardinals, it's like, hey, Marv, do you think you could run this go route and try to get a contested pass? That's the best we can do right now. It's like, hey, You know what? Probably move him in motion, put him in the slot, get him a matchup maybe on a safety, give him opportunities to scheme it up. Your job is literally to scheme players open and put players in positions to succeed, right? I worry. And this article it gave us some new information, but it's things we've talked about ad nauseum. When it's embedded in your DNA of a certain way, a philosophy to run an offense, for better or worse, meat and potatoes, running the football, I think Drew Petzing can make a lot of underwhelming personnel look good by comparison, because I think he's a very sound offensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. The Cardinals don't need sound. They need special. They need a coordinator that's going to take this unit to the next level, given their pieces. This isn't dick around time with Josh Dobbs on the late window with nobody watching, and you can beat the Dallas Cowboys screwing around running read option, and you'll get all the accolades from all the websites the next day. Oh, Drew Petzing's a name to watch. Okay, we're going to be put on national TV. You're going on Monday Night Football against San Francisco or whomever, and we need you to put up 30 points, and Kyler Murray's got to be a consistent 300-yard passer. Can you manufacture that offense? We haven't seen it yet. I don't know if you can do it.
Look, the run game's a strength. Trey McBride's a strength. But when you know that there's two which should be pillars of your offense that kind of get left on the cutting room floor in Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray's legs, like, I don't think you're benefiting yourself, doing yourself as much as you can to win a football game week in and week out.
Right.
It's just, and Kyler said he wants to run more. And then you've got Marvin Harrison Jr., who I'm sure is just chomping at the bit for more opportunities to showcase himself in higher, give yourself a higher percentage of success there. I mean, that's something that stood out. So, like, to be able to marry with these statistics, what you kind of saw throughout 17 games last season, it just it makes sense. But there's nothing new here, though, for me, that I'm just like, well, now after new evidence has been presented, Drew Petzing.
You don't feel like, not to interrupt you don't feel like reading this article where he puts, I would say he puts like 90% of the blame on the play caller over the quarterback and the wide receiver. That's not a surprise to you?
I mean, I wouldn't put like 90% on it. I don't necessarily think that's what he did, but I think if you were like, when we did this throughout the season, we did a big percentage of who harbors the blame between Petzing, Marv, and Kyler, and you and I differed pretty significantly here. But I think that as far as the way Solak summarized it and saying that he put it on all Madden or the hardest difficulty level, I mean, that resonates with me. I think that's the best way to really describe it.
Yeah. I just, when you're talking about the lack of motion, and there have been people in the media that have called it the sacrificial X receiver. Matt Harmon of Yahoo Sports said that on our show. I mean, it's like, you feel for him. And Marv is not Malik Neighbors, and he's not these kind of receivers, T.O. in his prime, where he's going to come and chirp at a quarterback and an OC. I mean, Marvin, almost to a fault last year, just say, I'm just going to work and I'm going to do my job. And now it's not Drew Petzing outside of this market has to answer questions about, hey, why didn't Marv have a 1,200-yard rookie season? Why wasn't Marv better than Ladd McConkey? Drew Petzing's not answering those questions nationally, having articles. Yeah. Why wasn't Drew Petzing better than the offensive coordinator for Jacksonville who was fired? We're not asking those questions. It's Marvin Harrison Jr. Why wasn't he better?
His offense was more productive.
Yeah, but I'm talking about from a receiver standpoint.
Yeah, sure. I know, but that's the one thing I will push back on. Is like, people want to talk about Neighbors and people want to talk about BTJ. It's like, they had great rookie seasons, but man, those offenses overall stunk.
Yeah,
they were bad.
They were really bad.
It's like, I don't want to take concepts from them, but I do see that you can have success at the wide receiver position, and like, there might be some things you can, adopt from.
I mean, Mac Jones. How come Mac Jones can get the ball deep to Brian Thomas Jr. and who was the quarterback? Tommy DeVito to Malik Neighbors last year.
Hey, Tommy DeVito. Hey, take it easy.
I'm walking here.
QB4.
It's tough, man. I don't like to be negative on this show, especially in the offseason with the vibes. But
just your baseline is negative.
That article today made me mad. I was mad like Trey Hendrickson holding out of Bengals.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, and that's good why the conversation will shift. Like, and we said this post-draft, like, all the goodwill that this team has created, like, that's not false, but then there's some things that you forget about, where some of the struggles were for this team. Like, we knew about the defense. Like, the defense was the most consistent side of the ball all season long, but they were undermanned. And now, like, you get excited. It's like, well, just look at what Nick Rawlis can do with all this talent. Where, like, last season is like, why isn't all this talent translating to Drew Petzing looking like an offensive genius? And now in year 3, I don't feel like he has anywhere to run. Like, I think he's or go. Like, he knows where to run. Like, he'll run it till, it's to a fault.
Here's what I'll say. They get the benefit of the doubt as a staff and as an organization we thought they'd be aggressive to add defensive linemen. I think you and I even did not see this kind of aggressiveness in one off season, right? How many defensive linemen did they add? Like 5. And we're still talking about more. If they take that kind of aggressive nature to the defensive line, knowing it was a personnel issue, you would assume that Austin Ford and Gannon and Drew Petzing can have a powwow of sorts and say, listen, guys, we have to maximize our best players. Marvin Harrison Jr. is we can't win the division, make the playoffs without Marvin being a big-time contributor. What needs to change? So I believe those conversations have happened. It'd be fireable if they didn't happen. So I feel like take the same approach that you took to the defensive line, personnel-wise, to an evolution of how this offense is going to be in 2025. It is the biggest talking point because it directly lines up with Kyler Murray and him being a producer. Like, I know Kyler Murray is efficient, doesn't turn the ball over very much, can run, high completion percentage. This is literally the deep passing game. You can make an argument was the reason they did not make the playoffs last year.
Yeah. And look, it's not one of the main tenets of their head coach. I mean, what was one of the things that, Jonathan Gannon got made fun of, unfortunately, unfairly for when he came in? Shots, explosives. That's what he wants his offense to be about. And I think there was a part of this that was survival because of where they were defensively as far as the personnel goes, that they had to really run the football and be even, or if not win the time of possession and try to stay away from the mistakes downfield. And they didn't take as many, but now you don't have any excuses. Now in year 3, it's like the continuity, you're leaning into it. The chemistry is going to have to show itself from a play calling standpoint and from the personnel standpoint. So look, I mean, I think it's fine because it does, I think, it does inform, I think, a lot of the fan base who were making their own assumptions as far as who's to blame here. And like I said, like nobody's, and I think all parties involved will say that they're not innocent in this, but now it's just like people have put in the work and now the opportunity is going to be there for them to prove people wrong.
Your Super Chats plus our final primetime predictions ahead of tomorrow's schedule release show. It's PHNX Cardinals.
I got to tell you guys about our friends over at Pure Edibles, of course, born and bred in our great state of Arizona, and now they're on every corner. Feels like it, right? Over 130 dispensaries. You can find Pure Edibles in their unbelievable gummies that are not covered in sugar like their competitors. They're a full-fledged candy company that has those gummies. They've got the kicks that are like Starburst. They've got the chews that are like soft candies like caramel, and of course, hard candies. In every Pure Edibles 10, you're not going to be bamboozled by it. The effects, they're clearly listed on each 10. You know exactly what effects to expect from your Pure Edibles. So many people talk about these nightmare stories, these horror stories. You're not going to have them with Pure Edibles because you're going to be able to just follow along closely what they have listed on their 10. Pure Gummies, they offer sleep support. They've got candies with uplifting effects derived with unique cannabinoids such as CBN, CBG, and CBD with marijuana derived from THC. They were created up in Flagstaff. They're now called Phoenix Home. We love it. Pure Gummies, they're designed to be ripped, bit in half, making them easily shareable and easy to dial in that exact dose. Go find yourself some Pure Edible products from the over 130 dispensaries across Arizona. Pure Edibles.
Check out Pure Edibles. Check out our friends at Circle K. Become a member of the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. It's America's thirst stop. Boy, we're thirsty. It's hot here. How about a nice 79-cent Polar Pop or Froster? If you remember the Inner Circle, you know about those deals on deals. Save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. Save 3 cents per gallon every single day. Go to the pump. All you need is your phone number to get the deals. If you enroll right now, it's just your email and your phone number. That's it. There are plenty of other member-exclusive deals and discounts to take advantage of. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for more details. We got 450 watching live on YouTube alone. We appreciate all of you. Hit that like button. Subscribe to PHNX Sports, especially en route for Mañana. We're going to be talking about it ad nauseum tomorrow, hopefully breaking some news. The NFL schedule release happens tomorrow. Bo and I, before the end of the show, are going to give our official predictions as it relates to the primetime games. Bo, there's some, I think, fallacy around Twitter that the Cardinals are playing Jacksonville week 1 that has not been confirmed yet. I don't know if you've seen that. There's a schedule floating around. A lot of people are saying it's fake, but of course the aggregators are out in full force that the Cardinals are hosting the Jags week 1. How would you feel about that?
I mean, it would be great to start against Liam Cohen-led Jags. I'd be all for it. I mean, you would feel pretty confident that would be a good start to the season, a potential home dub to set the tone for 2025. Look, Duval, let's get it going. I mean, that would, if you look at their schedule and some of the opportunities there, I mean, you definitely wouldn't put the Jacksonville home game as an option for prime time. So fine, get it out of the way. I'm for it. Like if it's going to be home, I don't want to see the lowly Titans, even though they got the number 1 pick. I don't want to see the crappy Carolina Panthers. I hate the Panthers. It seems like they play them every year, and it's always a bad outcome. But Jacksonville, give it to me. I mean, I think that's a good tone setter for them.
Let's jump into our super chats here. Trenton Smith, $4.99, kicking things off. You guys should do a road trip to LA when the Cardinals play the Rams here. We can be the only Cardinal fans in the stadium. Trenton, I will say, I went to the playoff game there in 2021. It's the nicest stadium in the NFL. Unfortunately, it is a world-class state-of-the-art facility, and I hate that because I don't want good things for Sean McVay and Les Snead and the LA Rams, but man, oh man, that doesn't get much better than that.
We also got to experience when the Cardinals opened up their home stadium to the Rams this past postseason because of the tragic wildfires. And I got a glimpse for the first time of the in-game pageantry that is insufferable from the Rams. Like the Who's House, Rams House chant is lame. Like all this, like all their in-game stuff is very annoying. But
yeah.
Look, LA, baby. I mean, it'd be great to go see the Cardinals go on the road and hopefully take down Daddy McVay.
Give me the Rams and Cardinals last week of the season for the playoffs on the line. We'd be there with the NFC West at stake. How about deep syrup? Interesting. $5. You didn't hear it from me, but I'm told sugar-free chocolate syrup exists. #MochaGate. That's all I've heard of. Everything I need to know.
Did you really waste $5?
No, I didn't.
In a burner account, deep syrup, like there's some sort of conspiracy going to throw you off of the oath that you broke by drinking a mocha when you're supposed to be sugar-free?
That employee at the Indianapolis downtown Starbucks told me that everything was there would be no sugar in my drink. So
he didn't. I was standing with you when you were ordering. I was an innocent bystander. I wasn't even trying to see what you ordered because I trusted you at the time. And then you broke that trust. You're basically the Cincinnati Bengals with
don't you put that evil on me.
That was a provoked shark attack.
I am not. Thank you, Deep Syrup. We stand in unity. Trenton Smith, $9.99. Cardinals trade for Trey Hendrickson. This defense would literally be Philly 2.0 with that pass rush and defensive tackle rotation. Would this line rotation be the best in the league? I think on paper it would be the best pair of edge rushers in the league. Given that Sweat was almost the Super Bowl MVP, and now you're bringing in a guy who had 35 sacks in 2 years, I think we would still need an emergent at defensive tackle. A young defensive tackle would have to emerge, whether it's Darius, who looks like Superman right now, or Walter Nolan, to put the cherry on top. But it would be the best on paper, the best defensive line the Cardinals have had since coming to Arizona. It might already be that way though, Trenton.
There's some good players in Cardinals pass, and there's some good pass rush duos around the league. I mean, I think New York just beefed theirs up with the addition of Abdul Carter, and they've got already in place Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau. Pittsburgh and TJ Watt. I think Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson down there in Houston. There's some really, really good pass rush duos, but like the entire defensive front seven. I think it should get some votes as far as just one of the more stout groups just on paper. But we know you gotta obviously let these guys get into the system and let that rotation kind of work itself out here. Hopefully it's something they can hit the ground run with. Doc XD 499 jumping in from Maryland. Need Johnny to be one to bury me at the funeral so I can know I'm coming back from the dead, or call me a fraud like the 1-4 LA Rams.
They were frauds. They were 1-4. We buried them. The Cardinals hung 40 on them, and they were 1-4, and they were a non-factor. And then the league rigged it so they could come back from the dead.
Ra's al Ghul, man.
The Lazarus man. Coming back from the dead.
I saw him die. Well, no, you didn't, Johnny. I mean, Johnny, I hope our guy Doc XD is in good health, and that's not anytime soon. So, but good call, Reezy baby.
I'll only come to your funeral if I can deliver the eulogy.
Cap is a non-issue for Trey. Any 3-year contract can be moved off 2 years. He and Sweat won't affect re-signing any of Monty's first draft class.
Correct, Reezy baby. You get it. You get ball. So Josh Sweat, even Garofolo told us Josh Sweat's deal is basically a 2-year deal. And if you get 2 productive years, you're golden. Same with Trey Hendrickson. So you would basically, all you would do is you basically be signing up for 2 years with 2 stud pass rushers. And then in the weeds, behind the scene, develop Jordan Birch, see what you've got with Ojulari, and continue to draft and develop young players. And here's the difference. It's not like offensive tackle where Jonah Williams you're going to play 100% of the snaps, hopefully this year. And you rotate guys. It's why Walter Nolan is entering at best right now on paper as like the 4th or 5th guy on the D tackle depth chart, right? Darius and Calais and Dalvin Tomlinson, and they got a bunch of guys left over. I mean, like, do that with an edge rusher. It's okay. More is more. Get more players.
Get more players, but also, I mean, you can see where the team, like, maybe they want to see this rotation of guys get enough snaps. Baharo 3 back in the hole. Good to see Baharo jump back in the chat. $2. No yak wide receiver or deep threat to overcome Drew help MHJ. So,
I think Drew needs to help himself. I don't think, Bo, not to interrupt you, I don't think we need to sit here and be like, well, we need a receiver to help. And I know, Baharo, that's not what you're saying. Drew needs to help himself by being a better play caller to maximize the players that he has.
Yeah.
Because anybody in the league would take MHJ and Trey McBride.
Yeah. I mean, don't go full Matt Ishbia and like say any GM would trade for this offense.
No, I think that's appropriate.
It's appropriate. But I think Baharo believes, and I know this from history of chats, but that you have to supplement Drew Petzing in order to get production. Where I think that the team is more confident than that, and that they want to lean into the development of some guys that they've drafted in this organization, and also like they've really thrown a lot of premium assets at Drew Petzing's offense through the first 2 years and going into year 3. Throwing another one, like what asset would you utilize? Like in a lot of cap space this offseason, didn't seem like there was an opportunity to do that. With who the free agent wide receivers were. And in this draft, like you could tell that the league wasn't fond of this draft class. Like that's why Carolina made sure it got T-Mac at 8th overall. And then Matthew Golden kind of slid down into the 20s.
Doc XD, our last super chat of the day, $1.99. Respectfully, Doc is dead. Johnny's eulogy. It would go something like that. Absolutely. Doc XD, you get me. Drop a like on this video. Final predictions ahead of tomorrow. NFL schedule release show. We're going to have full coverage, wire to wire. I put the over-under on Twitter, 2.5 for primetime games, something we had discussed on yesterday's show. Give me your loose prediction. How many primetime games of any kind for the Arizona Cardinals?
I am going to predict, ever the optimist, the over on 2.5, but just by the skin of their teeth at 3. I think they check in at your traditional primetime games across the board. I think they get a Monday night game. I think they get a Thursday night game. I think they get a Sunday night game.
Wow. So trifecta. Interesting. I will take the over as well. I will go out on a limb here, and I will say that the Cardinals have built up goodwill with Trey McBride and Marvin and Kyler and James Conner and Gannon is becoming well known within the NFL inner circles. I'll go out on a limb. You can call me nuts. I think they get 4 national televised games. I think it's the most since 2022. Fanboy podcast. I'm going to go 4. I'm going to go 2 Monday nights, a Thursday, and then a late season, maybe Saturday night game or a holiday game. I still think they get shut out of Sunday night. I will go 4.
I don't know. I think Sunday night, I felt like the league was kind of flirty with the Cardinals at the end of last season, maybe for a Sunday night game. I mean, they put them on that Sunday night football game. I think that with Gannon, with just seeing the improvement across the roster and more kind of star power, Sunday night might ask him out, might ask him to set the date early in the season this year.
I know we don't vibe with them because they haven't done well in primetime games in years prior, but more eyeballs on this football team gets people familiar with this franchise, grows this franchise, holds them accountable, and all of the above are good on us. Drop us a like, subscribe to PHNX Sports on YouTube. We appreciate all the conversation, the engagement. Comment below, not in the chat, but comment below how many primetime games are on deck for the Arizona Cardinals. Reminder, we will be live at 4:30 mañana. Keep it locked into all the social platforms and, of course, here on YouTube for any emergency podcasts that could happen. The NFL schedule release is here, and we're here to cover it. For Arrington, Johnny, Bo, we'll see you for the release. Mañana. Peace!
We all silly like the mayor.